Hello everyone, it's me, Lamani, and I'm coming back to spice up your Monday to give you the perfect build to play for the rest of your week. This time, I'll be bringing something a little bit different. We don't have a hybrid, and we don't have a life staff for that matter, so we're a little bit uncomfortable, but we're going straight mage today. I want to show off my PvP mage spec that is sure to pump out a crazy amount of damage, yet it has the survivability that will keep you going in any fight. You will excel in the 1v1 setting, but it gives you the tools to easily take on a 1v2 even against a healer in that team. This build is specifically focused on open world play along with outpost rush, but it has a major PvP emphasis nonetheless. I'll show you my favorite setup, which includes an ice gauntlet and a void gauntlet, but I'll also throw in a fire staff just so that you have the option to play whatever mage setup that you want that fits your style of mage play. Before we get started, a couple things. As always, thank you for the crazy support. Everything that's been happening over the last month has been so cool. Our growth has been amazing, and I'm loving how many people I get to interact with on a daily basis. If you want to keep connecting with me, feel free to drop a comment and I'll get back to you. Otherwise, feel free to join the Discord. It's linked in the description. There's about almost 600 of us in there, and there's people at all times of day ready to talk to you, ready to answer questions, and ready just to connect and do things. Also, feel free to send me a DM on Discord. I'm ready to answer questions. People are always asking me. I love talking to you. I love answering those questions as well. So do whatever's most convenient to connect with me. You can also, if you're up for it and you're around, join our Twitch live stream. We did a couple this past weekend. They went super great. It was so cool to talk to everybody and actually do it live and answer questions that way. So my Twitch is also linked in the description. Feel free to join up. I'll be doing some streams throughout the week, just whatever fits my schedule right now. I'll get a more concrete schedule set by the end of this week, that is for sure, so I can tell everybody, okay, these are the times I'm going to start going. Keep that in mind. Please join up and talk to me on Twitch. It's a ton of fun. It's great just having everybody around. Other than that, keep doing that weird YouTube stuff. If you could like, comment, subscribe, run outside, tell everybody that you can see on the street, your grandma, your grandpa, all those people, I'd appreciate it. Ring that bell so you get those notifications, and I'll be here. But nonetheless, thank you for that support. It means the world to me. All right, so back to the build. The Void Gauntlet has opened up a new avenue for this mage class. It provides us with a ton of damage and this versatility that our kit has never seen before. You can play it ranged with the Ice Gauntlet or the Fire Staff, but then you can full commit with the Void Gauntlet up in melee and do insane damage, have CC and survivability that people just can't get through. Both the Ice Gauntlet and the Void Gauntlet specifically are equipped with a ton of CC, they keep targets locked down, and the perks they offer in the loadouts are absolutely necessary and are a real game changer so that you can really improve your damage capability. So, my healing friends, let's get our feet wet a little bit and get uncomfortable and dive into a full damage mage build that we're not used to. Hopefully this gives your work week just that little bit of spice to get through, to power through, and keep going for another week. Let's dive into the builds. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the Void Gauntlet. I'm not gonna lie to you, this build's gonna be pretty simple. Essentially what we're gonna do is just run all the way down the left side. The reason for that being is that all three of these abilities have the most insane PvP perks. So I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown, tell you why we're taking these things, but if you just want to skip to the bookmark, it's going to end up being this entire left side, every single ability. So first we'll start with Void Blade. So I'm not going to do this in leveling order. If you want leveling order, DM me on Discord and I'll give you what you need. It's just a little harder to show that. But first, Void Blade, and then we're going to be playing with Oblivion, and we're going to be playing with Scream. Void Blade is incredible, right? We get the Disintegrate dot, which adds a stacking weapon damage dot and a rend component. The Void Blade itself just does a lot of damage. With Void Blade, we can then get Fortified Blade, which gives us that Fortify and Start 20% damage absorption for 5 seconds. That's fantastic. And we get a lot of crit synergy and a lot of crit ability reduction, which gives us more opportunities to reset our blade. Like maybe you have 2 seconds left, you can end your blade and reset it, get that Fortify and get your Empower rolling from Empowering Proximity, and then it's just easier to keep your stacks going. So the Fortify is really big, but then we also take Scream and we'll take the Fortify here as well. So we get an increased root duration by 1 second when they're below 50% health. So typically we won't really root until they're running away, and that's just even better. But this is 100% weapon damage, puts a root on the people for 2 seconds baseline, 3 seconds when they're under 50% health. It's a great ability. And then we get Fortify, right? And this stacks up to 3 times. You get 10% for 10 seconds per stack, right? Perfect. So this synergizes extremely well with Fortified Blade, gives us a lot of beefiness up front right from the get-go. The other big reason we take Petrifying Scream is for the perk. If you get the Scream perk, it gives you like a 20% healing reduction. So it afflicts the target with disease, meaning this is great for life staff users or just anybody in PvP. Another person with a Void Gauntlet, right? They can heal a ton, so why not Scream at them? Any Great Axe user, a Hatchet user. Petrifying Scream is fantastic for locking people down, but also denying healing. Then, like I was saying, we take Empowering Proximity, so this just gives us a stacking in power, right? As I'm using these abilities, when I use Void Blade when they're within 5 meters, so I won't pop it until I'm close, when I Scream at them, and when I pop Oblivion, that'll all give me a stacking damage buff. The unique thing with Empowering Proximity is that each of these 10% stacks is unique, okay? So when I Void Blade, I get 1 stack. That has its own 5 seconds. Then when I use Petrifying Scream, it'll put me at 2 stacks, but that also has its own timer component. So they'll overlap, but only for a short amount of time, meaning I could hit all of my abilities, but there's still going to be a little bit of time in between each one, meaning those stacks will fall out individually, right? You can keep it stacked at 3, but only for like 3 to 4 seconds at a time. So just know that these stacks don't create one fluid construct, they're their own individual units. We'll then go into crit hit damage there, just extra damage, and we'll take Leeching Blade, great source of extra healing if your health's starting to get a little bit low, and when comboed with the Void Blade perk, Voracious Blade, this gives us healing when we're below 50% health on all Void Blade attacks. So this synergizes really well because when you heavy attack them then, you're getting a 15% weapon damage heal, but then you're also getting the Voracious Blade proc, and you're also getting it so when you crit, you get 15% of the damage done, meaning we can get a lot of extra healing. This one is beautiful, just keeps you kind of topped off in this mage setup. We'll then just take extra cooldown reduction, why not, to keep our abilities rolling. For Empowering Proximity, we'll take extra crit and we'll combo that with Refreshing Precision, so that when we crit, we get cooldown reduction. Then we have just more crit when our abilities are done cooldown. We'll take 10% damage when we're below 50% mana. Extra damage windows, that's fantastic. We then get 10% crit chance while above 50% health. Great synergy with Refreshing Precision. We do have to take Efficient Harvest, but this can be nice if you just need to get a little proc off really fast. Less health drain, makes it easier when you're in a PvP setting. Fantastic. And then we take Oblivion. Oblivion gives us this 30% weapon damage dot. It also will apply Weaken to the target, meaning that they do less damage when they're inside of it. And then we'll also take Invigorating Oblivion, giving us 15 stamina per second when we're inside of its radius, meaning we can jump out, kind of, dodge around a little bit more, do whatever you have to do. But the real reason we take Oblivion is for its perk. I don't like playing with Oblivion in PvP, but Oblivion is way too strong right now. It is technically bugged and removing all buffs, including food buffs, but in the future, even when it's working as intended and it's taking off heals and it's taking off fortifies and not just stripping everything, this will still be the go-to PvP perk, whether it's bugged or whether it's not bugged. So removing all the buffs with Oblivion is just a fantastic thing to have. It makes it so much easier to take down a healer, so much easier to take down a beefy fortified person. Keep that in the back pocket, use Oblivion when you're up close, and remove those debuffs with Nullifying Oblivion. It is so good, and it will continue to be good even when it's fixed and not removing all buffs. Then we just take Void Caller, ton of extra damage here, gives us a little healing on top. So this is the Void Gauntlet setup. It's just the entire left side. I don't love having like Efficient Harvest on, but there's no point to go into any of these other points. In theory too, you could drop Oblivion if you don't want to use it. Maybe you think it's a little cheesy. You could take something like Orb and respec these points, get a slow. That would be a really, really nice one. That's typically what I do in my PvP setups. I don't take Oblivion and I take Orb instead, like my other 2 damage videos that I put out for the Void Gauntlet. But I think in terms of one-on-one PvP and Outpost Rush, Oblivion is so strong. It's insane. So it's up to you. I would suggest taking this for our Void Gauntlet setup. All right, so for the Ice Gauntlet, our PvP abilities we're going to be going for are first Ice Storm. Next, we'll be taking Ice Shower, and then we'll be taking Entombed. These are just kind of the PvP meta. This is what everybody knows to be the PvP meta, but they combo and synergize very, very well with the lockdown we have on the Void Gauntlet, and it gives us a ton of extra damage when we can use Ice Storm to our advantage for extra damage over time. So what do? I still set up my Ice Gauntlet as if I could use it solo. So this could still be a main Ice Gauntlet setup, and you could just keep the Void Gauntlet in the pocket. Ice Storm's just too strong. First, we get this 10% damage increase if they're below 50% health. Fantastic. We get mana cost reduced when at full mana, so the first thing we should be doing is putting down our Ice Storm. and then just having 10% increased damage per person inside. That's great for larger scale PvP like we'd be seeing in Outpost Rush, so why not take it? Just extra damage, even a flat 10% just in general. It's a lot of ticking damage. It's great. What I do is I put down Ice Storm first and we get that mana reduction. Then I'll run up to them, pull out Blade, kind of hit them a little bit, root them, then put down Oblivion and just go to town. And by that time, generally they're going to die if they misplay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Cold Reach. I get this damage increase by 15% if they're farther than 15 meters. Why not take that? Again, you can use it as a made ice gauntlet, so extra damage is fantastic. Increase critical damage of all ice spells by 10% when at full stamina. Great to have. Hitting 3 consecutive light attacks gives mana back. We also already get mana back on crits, so that synergizes really well. And then we'll take increased crit chance if hitting an enemy in a frosted area or with frostbite. Now, we'll also take heavy freeze, and this is where this really starts to come into play, and we'll take ultimate chill, so ice abilities chill targets, increasing ice damage. In theory, what we do, we hit them with the Ice Storm, and then you have 2 options. You can either then just start going full Void Gauntlet, or you can try and hit them with the heavy attack. Okay, and if you hit them with the heavy attack in Ice Storm, they will then get rooted. This will then synergize very well with Ultimate Chill, giving us a 25% stronger heavy attack, but then we also get an increased critical chance because they're inside of a frosted area. So keep all those in mind. It's great. Make sure when you have Ice Storm down, maybe hit them with a heavy attack first. Keep them at range before you really dive in with the Void Gauntlet. Poke them down a little bit if necessary. You can do the work from range, or you can just get up and get dirty with it in melee. That's all on the side. We just really want the Ultimate Chill passive. Now, on the builder side, we're just going to max out these. So we take increased duration. We can play around Ice Shower. Put down your Ice Shower, they can run into it, and then they'll get rooted. And then you put down your Ice Storm and start launching stuff into them. It's great. You just keep it up for 7 seconds. It's free CC, fantastic. It's very defensive, and it makes it a lot easier to solo with an Ice Gauntlet, or just to use it to stall. Let's say you dropped your Void Blade by accident. You can use Ice Shower and Entomb to stall out so you can get another one going. We'll then just take the speed boost, just because why not? And then this is the real big thing, is that we get the Rend component from it. That Rend also applies to magic damage, so you could theoretically start off with an Ice Shower, get them caught in it, then Ice Shower's perk actually makes it so it does damage, so that's free damage. We have a Rend on them, we get more magical damage from Rend, and we just start going to town. You can, again, commit to the Ice Gauntlet, commit to the Void Gauntlet, whatever you want to do. Then our last 2 points, I just throw them into the Entombed ones. Entombed, you pop in an Entomb. They did nerf the health on it a little bit, but it still buys you time. And what you can do is you can use it to cheese out of stuns. So somebody who's using a Warhammer, pop Entombed, wait for it, then left click to knock them back, create some space, use your abilities, or then just go into them with the Void Gauntlet. Really great ability. We then get an increased 25% defensiveness here for 3 seconds when we break out. But the real big thing is that we get Cleansing Tomb. We cleanse all debuffs when being entombed. Let's say somebody just put a bunch of bleeds on you, or maybe you're on fire. Pop this real quick if you're not worried. You'll remove those and you'll have less pressure on yourself for the rest of the fight. In general, this is what I would be suggesting if you want a PvP with an Ice Gauntlet and a Void Gauntlet. These abilities are fantastic and the perks that they provide are just so good. Anyway, if you're coming from the bookmark, I would highly suggest using this setup because you can main your Ice Gauntlet and kill people from range, or you can, switch to the Void Gauntlet whenever you want. And the abilities that we use in this setup are fantastic for CC and PvP and giving you more survivability. You can stall out for more Void Blade stuff. You can stall out if your health's low, and you can really finesse and outplay other players. Okay, now I want to give you one more mage option in case you decide to main the Ice Gauntlet and combo it with something else and you aren't really much of a Void Gauntlet player. I want to give you a very, very high burst Ice Gauntlet that doesn't have a lot of CC capability, but you can one-shot people. So it would still be the same everything on the builder side. I'd take Quick Frost, I'd go into this, and then I would take this. So the builder side is going to stay the same. On the Ice Tempest side though, we're going to take Ice Spikes. This will give you a huge burst of damage with a mighty spike that's going to cause 157% weapon damage, and you can press your left mouse button if you want it to pop up early. We'll then take all of the points into it, and honestly, once you hit all of these points, it's much easier for your Ice Spike to land, and you'll have even more burst potential once you hit Spiky Reach. We'll still take all the passives, except we're not going to take Heavy Freeze, because we're not taking Ice Storm, so it's more difficult to get that to land. We'll take all this for extra damage, and we'll still take Ultimate Chill. Boom. You will essentially just rend them with Ice Shower and then hit them with Ice Spikes and pray for the one shot. So if this is kind of the setup you'd like to go, you could even use this with the Void Gauntlet, Fire Staff. You can main your Ice Gauntlet like this, or you can do the build we just talked about. I just want to give you all options. All right, so now to completely cover the Mage meta of PvP, I just want to give you a quick Fire Staff build as well so that you can choose between these 3 weapons and which best fits your sense of Mage. So I would take the cooldown reduction on heavy attacks, we'll then take Clear Mind for the Empower when above 50% mana, and we'll max out Fireball. This has a lot of damage, we'll get the increased burning field, and we'll get some mana back when we use it. We then have to take Singe, critical hits from our heavy attacks with Fire Staff, give us that dot component. We'll take Clear Casting to get a 5% damage buff. We'll take 10% crit strike, no longer consume mana, and then your crit strike damage is increased by 15% because we want Rune of Helios. Now what I will say is if you feel like you want mana back and you're not really using your Fire Staff very much, maybe consider taking this because we nullify it with Flare. Our heavy attacks will now net us mana back. So that's a good thing to keep in mind if you want to generate a little bit of mana while still doing some damage. Now on the Pyromancer side, we're going to have some wiggle room, but no matter what, we're always going to take Pyromania. We have to. When holding a Fire Staff and below 50% max health, damage is increased by 15%. Good for PvP if you start getting your health a little bit low. Good just in general for that extra little bit of damage. Now, what do? I personally take Incinerate and I take it all the way down. This is great for Outpost Rush. This is great when they get up close in a 1v1. Incinerate will hit them for a chunk of damage, knock them back, and then catch them on fire. But with these modifiers, each hit causes an additional stack of burning. We then get 20% of the damage dealt by Incinerate back as a heal, and then Incinerate hits twice. So we'll get more dot, we'll get more damage. It's a great little ability to throw in with more empowers, and it's really great for AoE or just creating a little bit of space if somebody gets up in your face. So then next, I'm going to go into Burnout. This is a very strong ability. You're going to burn them, you're going to hit them for weapon damage. It's on a 20-second cooldown, and it'll take you quite the distance if we go all the way into it. Personally, I really like going all the way into it, and I think that gives you a lot more versatility. It gives you a lot more movement, and you can kind of wiggle around and hit more people with it, and it's great for AoE. So we'll take All In, reducing our cooldowns by 5% for each foe hit, and then we'll take Heated Up. Burnout goes 50% further. Why not? This actually is fantastic for solo chest farms in the elite zones. You can use Heated Up to really finesse your way around the elite zones and get to certain chests that you normally couldn't. Now, I think Burnout's fantastic, and I think the abilities on it really make it even more incredible. But what you could do theoretically is you could get rid of these 2 skill points and put them into something like Kindle if you want longer burns, but I don't think that has as much potential as the other 2 points. Or you could take Let It Burn. Whenever your burn deals damage, gain 10% Fortify for 2 seconds. Maybe, if you want that, but again, totally up to you. I would highly suggest doing this. So if you're coming from the bookmark and you maybe don't want to play Ice Gauntlet, Void Gauntlet, and you want a different mix with one of those weapons, this gives you the Fire Staff option so that you can play any one of the 3 so you can have your perfect mage setup. So this is what I would suggest for a PvP Fire Staff setup. All right, people, let's hit gearing and attributes really fast just to cover everything so that you can really excel at this role. So first, with attributes, this is the split I'm going. Baseline, what I want is 200 int, 200 con. Why do I want the 200 int? Well, I can get the 10 mana after a dodge, which really helps with the Void Gauntlet. Because we can use so many abilities in our opener, we can then dash forward, which we need anyway to get our stam down for opal usage on the Void Gauntlet. It then gives us enough mana to get the complete rotation off. We'll get 15% elemental damage, great, 10% crit hit damage, and this stacks so well with the Void Gauntlet because we have so much built in. So we get it in int, we get some in our mastery tree, and then I have Vicious on my Void Gauntlet, so I can crit on a light attack for like 2200 sometimes. Then we also just take 10% to light and heavy magic attacks. Fantastic for the sword, just gives you more damage output. 200 is the goal. That's our baseline. You then, if you want to, could push to 250 with food. This will just help with disintegrate stacks on the Void Gauntlet. They'll last a little bit longer, so if you kind of have the target run away from you a little bit and you can't close that gap, it still gives you some more pressure that you're applying. Also helps with the Fire Staff, giving those dots a little bit longer of a duration. So you could just push 250 for more damage. I just put the rest of mine in here to get more damage because I feel good with my health and survivability. Now for con, I go 200. Honestly, if you're a melee kind of PvP damage person, I would highly suggest going into 200 con. This is going to give you 20% increase to armor, makes you much more difficult to kill, especially if you are wearing heavy, but I play a medium, right? I like the way medium feels. I feel like I play better. I'm able to dodge better, all that. So I go medium, but this 20% increase to armor is still fantastic. We also just get a ton of health. I'm sitting at about 12k health. I could tweak some things and get perfectly 12k. We'll get minus 10% critical damage taken. we'll get that increased max health by 10% of your physical armor. And because we're a medium user, that applies more heavily than if we were in light. But then we also get this effect from the 20% increase to armor. So we get even more health on top of it. We also just have stronger health consumables. In general, 200 con is a very, very good breakpoint to hit for PvP. We still put out plenty of damage, but we can survive much longer than a lot of the glass cannon specs. And with the Fortify we get, the survivability on the Ice Gauntlet, all of the life steal and healing, you are a force. All right, as far as gearing goes, I will preface this by saying I could not get any of the perks that I wanted to because my server is dead. Okay, there's 6 perks I would want in this setup. You would have to ideally roll one on a Void Gauntlet or the Ice Gauntlet, depending on what you're doing. In general, all of my gears int con, get whatever you can to get those stat breakdowns. And then I'm playing in a full medium loadout with heavy helmet, heavy chest, medium gloves, medium boots, and light pants. I would also run Onyx gems for more physical reduction. A lot of the PvP damage you'll be seeing is physical, so just brace for that. Now the perks, this is where things would get really spicy, okay? 1, prioritize getting your Void Gauntlet perks if you're running that. Voracious Blade on the Void Gauntlet is going to give you healing once you've gone under 50% health on like 30% of the damage that you do, right? So if we stack that on top of our heavy attack healing, our crit damage healing, and even our Void Color healing, we have a lot more healing potential. Maybe even throw lifesteal on your Void Gauntlet when you have something like Nothingness, and you'll be good to go. The next one is Nullifying Oblivion. This is the one that just removes all buffs right now, but it will still remove just player buffs in the future, not like food buffs and everything like it is bugged right now. And that will just be very strong for taking off fortifies, taking off heals over time, taking off big chunky buffs that make it harder to kill somebody. Why not take that on Oblivion? We also then get that power and the weakness on top of it, so it's a great PvP ability. Then finally, we need Scream. The perk from Scream will give them a flat healing reduction, which is great when you're fighting a life staff user. Now for the Ice Gauntlet, I would really prioritize first getting Deadly Frost. This is what's going to make your Ice Shower when you take the Rend do a dot. So it's like 8% weapon damage over time, scales with gear score, obviously. And that's really, really nice for extra damage output on top of switching over to the Void Blade. Then what we could do is have both Ice Shower and Ice Storm doing dots while we switch to the Void Gauntlet, get our 3-stack Disintegrate going for more dot damage, and then get our Void Collar rolling, and we just have this huge dot potential that's just chunking people down. I would then next say either take the Entombed one, which will give you a flat heal percentage if you leave the Entombed with full mana, but that might not be a super high priority. It does give you a lot of reset potential. And then the last one would be the one on Ice Storm. This is going to make it so that slow effect lasts 2 more seconds, and then they still take that 25% increased damage, which would then allow you to still get the root off, potentially, if you can hit them with a heavy attack. So that's just another one for more CC capability. You might not want all 6. It'd be great to have all 6. I wish I could find any of them right now just to really pump out some more damage and be great in PvP, but that's what I would prioritize. First Void Gauntlet, then the one for Ice Shower, and then the other 2 are kind of those flex ones. As far as accessories go, find a neck with int. My neck is garbage right now. It has int and health. I would love to have something with maybe divine on it. If you could get int, health, and divine would be great. I'll always say the Infinity Crystal roll, but with the right stats. Next, I have a Void damage ring. Get whatever you can. I'm running Void. I also, in my pocket, have an Ice damage ring. So if I want to main Ice Gauntlet, I can do that and have some Ice damage. If I want to main Void Gauntlet and then get some Void damage out there. The ring is the only slot in your accessories that can roll with offensive perks. So try to get like crit, try to get Void damage or Ice Gauntlet damage, whatever works best for you, whatever you prefer. And then my earring, Ill-Gotten Gain is just so good. That con is a nice number. We get that physical damage reduction because we can throw that gem in. Refreshing Toast, that potion cooldown, is great for open world stuff and not dueling because you don't want to be that dirtbag who potions in the duel. Regenerating is great, and Duplicating Toast. These are kind of the ideal perks on an earring for PvP, I would say, in my opinion. On the Ice Gauntlet, I just got whatever high Ice Gauntlet I could get an int roll or an int con, whatever works, and then I have Enchanted and Keenly Jagged. Ideally, you would get Vicious and Keen. Vicious Keen is the best roll on magic weapons because we can't really force crits, so we need more crit chance, and then that crit damage is huge. So whether it's a Fire Staff, Ice Gauntlet, Vicious Keen is what I'd suggest. Then on my Void Gauntlet, this is what I've been rolling. I would love a Vicious roll. Like I was just saying, that crit hit damage goes a long way when you stack it between the int tree and the Void Gauntlet tree. I have 31% critical hit damage applied to my critical hits, and we get so much crit hit chance that Keen not so much is really required. So if you could get Vicious Keenly Empowered, if you could get backstab damage, if you could get Enchanted, I would love to have Vicious Enchanted on my Void Gauntlet, but get whatever you can. On the Ice Gauntlet, I run an Emerald just because why not? You could take any of the CC ones, so consider putting a Malachite in there. I would say Emerald if you want to be safe in general, then you can kind of flex it into more styles of play, but the Malachite for PvP would be great because we are doing so much rooting and slowing and all that stuff with our Ice Gauntlet. So I'd say consider having multiple, one for open world, just kind of general PvE content, one for PvP so that you can flex this into multiple things. Now on the Void Gauntlet, I always run Opal, I think because I'm jumping around so much. Whenever you are below 100% stamina, we get a 15% damage increase. I think it's super fun playstyle, high movement, high octane. You could also run an Emerald and just get that, little execute window if you don't want to be as active with jumping around. Maybe you just don't feel like maintaining that 15%, or maybe even forget. Emerald's always a safe option just to execute people once they get to 30% health. So with perks, get the Void Gauntlet ones, and then I would say prioritize the Ice Shower one after that. But all 6 are very, very good. In PvP, I don't have any good food on me right now just because I was testing a bunch of stuff and running and dying in chest runs. But run a Honing Stone and have the good foods. You'll have stuff like Battle Bread you can use, an Outpost Rush, and just making sure you have a tier 5 regeneration food to keep your health high. You could also keep a mana buff on you from the energizing foods, but make sure you have a way to regenerate more health by eating something, not just health potions to rely on. You never know when you're going to need it. All right, so gameplay wise, what do we have going on here? I did a lot of duels to test this build out, and it shreds people. Essentially what you're going to do is you'll put down your Ice Storm and then put your Ice Shower within it, or use your Ice Shower to root them and then put your Ice Storm down, and then you're going to get into the Void Gauntlet usage. If you get to the point where maybe they kite you outside of your Ice Gauntlet, don't worry. Just pop that Void Gauntlet stuff, get your roots, lock them down, and keep whittling down their damage even when they're using things like health pots. Keep chasing them down, burst them, do whatever you can, and if you ever hit a point where your Void Blade runs out, use your Ice Block. Stall, sit inside of your Ice Storm, buy yourself some time for that cooldown to come back up, and rinse and repeat. You're going to want to use all of your Void Gauntlet cooldowns right within melee range so that you get the highest stack of Empower possible and can pump out the most damage. When you get a full rotation off where they're inside of your Ice Storm while you're doing all of your damage, they absolutely get deleted, especially because you have a double rend running between your Disintegrate and the rend from your Ice Shower. They just cannot keep up with the damage output. The Fortify keeps you alive, and there is just nothing they can do. If they then choose to maybe cut you too, switch to your Ice Gauntlet, just start shooting them. Make sure you do a lot of dodging. You can avoid so much damage by dodging and getting out of CC and using those iframe windows to your advantage. Be aware of what's going on in your duels and your outpost rushes and your PvP, and rely on your Oblivion and playing inside of that, because that will give you this huge burst of damage that nobody will be expecting. And then when they try to run away, either chase them down, root them, or just finish them off with the Ice Gauntlet. Do everything you can to keep them in your AoE dots and keep the dots on to keep the pressure applied. You can also run something like this in PvE. I mean, it's the same kind of rotation. You can use your Ice Gauntlet, poke them down a little bit, then go in with the Void Gauntlet and just absolutely burst everything down. Make sure you're still dashing to keep your stamina drained so that your Opal procs. Just make sure you're doing everything you can to maintain that Opal buff and get a 15% damage when you're snapshotting dots on that Void Gauntlet, right before Void Color comes down, right before you get into an Oblivion burn phase. And make sure every time, maybe like hit, dash, hit, dash. That's kind of like what I keep in my head as I'm playing. And you can avoid all this damage while you're doing all that dashing, and it will give you more damage output in the long run as well. The big thing and the beauty with this style of setup is you can use a Fire Staff and Void Gauntlet. You can use an Ice Gauntlet and Void Gauntlet. You could use Ice Gauntlet Fire Staff with all of the builds I provided you. I prefer the Void Gauntlet style of play, so I used the first build I listed, but in the future, I'm going to be testing the Ice Gauntlet build with Ice Spike. I just have used it a little bit in the past, and I've seen other people use it. It is insane. The one-shot potential is insane, but I like having more control in my fights. It gives you way more versatility, and it is more of a secondary weapon than it is a primary. But when you use Ice Spike, this is when I would go like primary, Ice Gauntlet, one-shot burst, and then, maybe combo it with a Fire Staff so that you can cover ground with your dash, or even the Void Gauntlet to chase them down after that Ice Spike. I think something super beneficial you could do is use our same Void Gauntlet build with the one-shot burst Ice Gauntlet, put your Oblivion down, and just pop out a giant Ice Spike and see how much damage you can do. Obviously, if you want to go pure Glass Cannon, you could just go pure Int and not much con and just try to one-shot people. Let me know how that goes. But in general, I think this PvP build is absolutely insane and can do so much damage and keep you alive through a lot of players. You have enough CC to weave around, keep yourself alive. You can stall out for certain cooldowns. It's high damage, high output, high survivability. You have healing, CC, mobility, everything you need because you're playing in medium armor. You're a god. It's crazy. It's really fun to play with. It's great for one-on-ones and duels. Let me know how you all feel about it. So that's the build. That's what I would suggest doing. I want to just say thank you for all of you. Thank you for all of the support. Thank you for watching. If you want to connect with me, leave a comment or join the Discord link below. Hit up my Twitch and follow me on Twitch. Turn on notifications so you know when I go live, but I'll also just add everybody in the Discord. We'll have some streams coming up throughout the week, so stay tuned. Also, if you want to directly support me, you can hit up my Patreon, which is linked in the description. And as always, I'm going to say thank you to every single one of my patrons because I think it's important. So, thank you to Jacob, Adrian, Thuggish, Shane, Gil, Schmeezy, Anarino, Ethan, Ajuro, Nathaniel, Thonar, Chad, Nicasio, Joseph, Tarvi, Mummy, Generic Guy, Ronan, Ralph, Bob, Florian, Blue Beagle, GDB, Jay Kitchens, Wentz, Dexter, Rich, Rob, Matthew, and Josh. Thank you all for your support, but thank you to every single one of you just for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I hope I gave you enough so that you can understand how you can play a mage well in New World, and gave you enough builds so that you have some versatility to fit your definition of mage. But as always, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for being you.